everyone. I will make my presentations of my final dissertation. I'm doing a management consulting project, and my project topic is a strategic reviews of options for the John Money Center, Progressive. And this project will be collaborated by two students. Another student will more focus on the strategy and operation part, and I will focus on the funding options and funding strategy. So firstly, I will introduce John Money Center. John Money Center is an international organization within and outside the European Union with the actions of teaching, activities, and research. John Money Centers of Excellence of University of Leeds is established in 2014, and there are over 20 John Money Center over the all UK. And however, the influence of Brexit have a significant influence of the European funding for the John Money Center. So Professor Club, as a director of John Money Center, he's really keen to review the strategic options of the center and the funding strategy. So the research objective turn into several, including the classifications of the key stakeholders and issues, and then it will investigate options for generate internal and external funding, and then consider the potential funding stream for John Money Center, and then I will make some comparative research of funding strategy of other John Money Center within the UK. And then finally, we will provide some recommendation for the John Money Center in terms of the funding options and funding strategy. So firstly, I do the literature review in terms of some fundings and funding strategy and funding source. And then I use the funding analytics tool to make some analysis for the funding issues and resource of the John Money Center, and then identifying the stakeholder analysis and collaborations topic. So I will firstly introduce my issue analysis process. Currently, the John Money Center is dormant with no extra money. So there are several sub-issues, including declining core funding from European Union, which is the core funding, and then no extra external funding source for the John Money Center. So several reasons and analysis to be performed for this issue. So I also do the SWOT analysis, including the strengths and of weakness. I think one of the strengths is the profile of Professor Club, who has really high expertise and knowledge to have some European research and influence. And then some soft power and reputation of the John Money Center can also raise more funding and possibility. And then some weakness and thrills the centers are facing, including Professor Clay is only one chair in the center, and then with the influence of Brexit, the European Fund has the relationship of EU and UK has significantly influenced the European funding. So it raised the competitive of funding applications of the European research in the UK. So in order to identify the stakeholders, I do the stakeholder identifications around the John Money Center, including the internal staff, internal and external funders, funding supported research and resource, and the competitive and collaborators. Based on their power and influence of different stakeholders, and do the graph of the stakeholders on different issues, and I identify that the key players of the John Money Centers are the directors of John Money Centers, are the John Money Centers of Excellence, and the co-founders of European Union. And then to move to the next methodology part, I will mainly focus on these key stakeholders, and my research philosophy is the interpretism and the subjectiveness. I will do this research in the whole qualitative way, including the interview and case study. Because I think in this way, after we interview with this key stakeholder, I can gain more opinion and recommendation in terms of the funding strategy and planning for the John Monnet Center at University of Leeds. And then my research process will be performed in three steps. The step one is the funding issue analysis, stakeholder analysis that I mentioned in my literature review part. And then I will benchmark the good practice of other John Monnet Center. We interview 6 university of John Monnet Center to identify the good practice, like experience of funding applications and funding source. And then I try to approach 3 potential funders, including the Alumni Center, the Research and Innovation Center, and the European funders. After we interview with the staff inside, we get more insights and understanding and recommendations, opinions about how to apply for funding and gain more support in the future and plan our funding strategy. And then after we analyze this, and then I come up with the analysis of benchmarking with 6 university in terms of the different activities, their different funding strategy for the activities, and how they find their funding internally and externally. In the next part, after I benchmark and gain more opinions and insight from different stakeholders, I make my recommendations for the John Monnet Center. Firstly, I think in the short term, I think it's the alumni donation, which is the most efficient one and safe course to earn donation from alumni and with the supporters of Alumni Center. And then with the influence and advantage of Professor Club, I think he can have more public lectures and seminars to increase the influence of European research and a European topic to attract more potential funders. And then to maintain the internal operation, I think we should develop the internship program to hire some students to do some intern to maintain the daily operation, and we can save costs. In the middle term, we can start to plan for the next 3 years to apply for external funding applications with the support of maybe the research and innovation centers and some staff inside the university. And then we can do some collaborations with maybe with the other John Monnet Centers of Excellence, or maybe with other faculties in the university who also do the European research. And in the long term, I think we can develop some PhD and research program to maintain the research activity of John Monnet Center. And then after we successfully apply for external funding, we can come back to our university to apply for the funding within the university, because we already raise our reputations and social influence. In the future, we aim to become a European funding platform for the research of European studies in the university, because at that time we can successfully apply for lots of European funding to support the European research, and that is the main things that we want to achieve in the long term. So that is my whole funding strategy that I designed for John Monnet Center to satisfy the demand and reach the objective of the research. And that is my final presentation for my dissertation. Thank you for your listening.